Hello and welcome to another episode of Consumer Thursdays, brought to you by the Consumer Council of Missouri. As you know, we're here to level the playing field for consumers throughout the state of Missouri. Today, we have a very special guest from the Alzheimer's Association of Greater St. Louis, Mr. Jeremy Koerber. Jeremy has been with the agency, he just told me, for 7 years now. And prior to that, he was with the BJC. And he's also a fitness expert, which I need to take some tips from him on how to achieve that objective. With that, I want to introduce Mr. Jeremy Koerber. Jeremy, thank you so much for being with us today. I find this topic one that many people overlook until it's right there at home and in their face.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. First off, it's always a pleasure to meet new people, to talk to new audiences. That's my job, actually.
Okay.
We raise awareness,
Okay.
and so the opportunities to have those conversations and explain what we do, what it is,
Yes.
what people should look for. That's what I get paid to do. So this is great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Truly, in all honesty, we're very happy to have you here.
Absolutely.
Alzheimer's Association is something that impacts many, many families, and I think that sometimes we don't really know to what extent that it impacts families, and that's what I'm here and to talk about and really find and share with our audience is the impact it has on families. I did a little research myself and found in many, many cases, I mean, there's over 7,000 people that are suffering from this disease, 7 million, excuse me, over 7 million people suffering with this disease at this time. And it's projected, I was watching TV one day, it projected that that number will double.
Right.
More than double
Right.
in the next 20 to 30 years. So that, to me, that's scary. Having a mother who is 96 years old myself, home care, cost of care is exorbitant. So I just think it's a lot of things, and hopefully we can educate some of the people on some of the things to look for, as well as some of the resources that may be available to them if they find the family member with Alzheimer's. And I've got one question.
Sure.
The difference between Alzheimer's and dementia.
It's a great question. One that we get almost every time we go out into the field. So I think the best thing to think about dementia is like an umbrella. We call it an umbrella term. So dementia symptoms are going to include memory loss that impacts daily life.
Yes.
It's going to include behavior change. Maybe someone was really easygoing and now they're not so easygoing anymore, right? So it's been a complete flip of who kind of they were. And then the third, I say psychological, but it could be like hallucinations. You're seeing things that aren't there. Those are dementia symptoms. Something is causing those dementia symptoms to happen. So if we were to take a $100 bill, run down to the boat, and slap $100 down on Alzheimer's, you would win 60 to 80% of the time. That is the disease state that causes those types of dementia. Now, there's all kinds of dementia. There's dementias that come when a person has a stroke. There's one called Lewy body dementia, and that does tend to come with more hallucinations. It's caused by a slightly different pathology. The actor Robin Williams, that's what he had. Right. Frontotemporal dementia really affects speech. Like the term aphasia, having trouble getting words out. That's what the actor Bruce Willis has. And then there's all kinds of mix. So like there's dementia that comes along with Parkinson's. Again, it's
a mix.
you can have more than one type. So I think for our conversation, just to be clear, the Alzheimer's Association does not say if you've got Lewy bodies, we can't help you. That's not how it works. Most of the research as far as treatments go right now are leaning towards Alzheimer's because those are where we actually have treatments for the disease. The other ones, they are still researching, they're still looking, they're still trying. I mean, even with like when you talk about vascular dementia, which is again after you've had a stroke best prevention for that's going to be taking care of yourself, right? If you have diabetes or high blood pressure, managing those things, working with your doctor, exercising. I mean, those are the things that you would do to reduce your risk for that. And there's actually quite a bit of research out there on just lifestyle in general. That's been one of the biggest things that we've had come out recently in terms of starting conversations is the premise of you can actually reduce your risk of getting it by 40%.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
That's a big number.
That's a big number.
I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I read that in some of my research. Yeah, just on dementia itself.
Mhm.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about the mission of the Alzheimer's Association of Greater St. Louis.
It's kind of funny because when you got everybody has a really great like wordsmithed mission statement, right?
That's right.
The way I always look at it, you know, when we flash it up on a wall when we're doing a talk, is I say, let me break this down here. So first and foremost, I want people to start looking at the association more so as a public health education resource entity than I always say if someone were to call us up and say, hey, Uncle Joe needs a chair rail put into his house, I'm not the guy coming to Uncle Joe's house, but through our helpline, we might be able to find a resource that's local to Uncle Joe.
Well, that's important.
So that's important,
to know.
right?
That's important to know.
So the way that this breaks down, the mission kind of goes like this. We are the #1 nonprofit funder of research out there. So when we do fundraisers like the Walks to End Alzheimer's or things like that, a large chunk of that money goes straight to research, which the really cool thing, being here in St. Louis, Wash U, right?
Wash University.
A lot of the stuff that's happening is happening right here. Okay, so you got that. #2 is risk reduction. So what that means is we have a lot of educations and talks where we go into communities and we talk about taking better care of yourself.
Yeah.
We talk about what a warning sign looks like versus just normal age-related memory loss. And the reason for that is because if we can take better care of ourselves, you might either reduce the risk altogether or delay it. Delay it, right? And then if people understand what warning signs look like and you can get a diagnosis, that opens the door to treatments, which slows progression of the disease. So you've got that. But the last thing, and this is important, is help education and resources for the caregiver, because we realize that while we're working really hard to find treatments and cures and help people not get this, there are people living with it today.
Every day.
And there's no 4-year program. There's no degree. There's no certificate for caregiving. You know, you could be the smartest person in the world, you know, doing research right here at Cortex. And all of a sudden, mom's given this diagnosis. What are you going to do about that? You work a full-time job. You're a really smart person, but have you ever had to deal with
caregiving is tough.
Caregiving is tough, right? Yeah. So that's the mission. So I always break it down in more of a personalized. It's not so much what's written on this plaque or this PowerPoint slide, but this is how we take what we do and go into community and make it come alive.
Let's talk. Okay, fantastic. That's good resources, and I'm gonna come back to an issue that, a topic you brought up about Washington University. But what areas does the agency serve? What areas does this particular of Missouri serve?
As of July 1, 2026, all of it. So
all of it. Okay.
We initially, I don't know for sure if the chapter is going to be renamed like Greater Missouri or Missouri, but up until the entire time I've been with it, we covered about 86 counties in Missouri and 10 in Illinois. And
10 in Illinois.
And so what happened in January of this year is that the association in general across the country did a sort of a restructure. And in that restructure, what they decided to do was, instead of having chapters that might split county lines, or not county lines, but state lines, is we're just going to be a state. So I believe there are something like 115, 116 counties in the state of Missouri. And so now
you're going to cover
every
every state.
Right.
Get them all.
You get them all. Yep.
Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, all the way down to the corner of Southwest. Yep. Arkansas line, you name it, right? Absolutely.
That was great to know. So people that are listening to this, please take in consideration that the Alzheimer's Association of Greater St. Louis, which may be renamed, but currently covers the entire state almost the entire state of Missouri. And it's a great resource. You brought up the topic of Washington University. In my limited research, I saw where Washington University is one of the leaders in this field of research and for Alzheimer's, cures, etc. But they also provide some resources, if I'm not mistaken, for those who may think they have a family member that is experiencing some Alzheimer or dementia-related experiences, that they can go in to Washington University and actually get some additional information. Am I correct?
Absolutely. I think there's two things that come to mind initially. So
Yeah.
number one is the Washington University Knight Alzheimer's Disease and Research Center, which if we were to just
Yeah.
walk out of this office,
Right.
we'd be there in about 5 minutes. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so we partner with them. They
Okay.
do, I mean,
Yeah.
they're experts. So diagnosis, treatment.
Okay.
They have a ton of great social workers in there that help
Right.
also connect the people that are coming for the treatments and
Yeah.
the healthcare to get connected to other things
Right.
that are out there. So that's number one. Number two, and I think this is one that might shock people a little bit, but Washington University, through their occupational therapy department,
Mm-hmm.
actually does driving evaluations. And that's not just for people with Alzheimer's. That's for seniors or for people in general. Because,
Okay.
you know, if you are getting to a point, let's just take and put Alzheimer's over on the back burner for a
Yeah.
moment. You know, my grandfather would be a great example. He's 91.
Yeah.
He doesn't turn his head quite like he used to. And, you know, so doing a driving evaluation helps to say, you know what, yep, you're good to go. Or, hey, we might want to think about retiring from driving.
Right.
But they can do the same thing.
I had to do that to my uncle.
Did you?
I had to do that to my uncle.
Yeah.
He got lost a couple of times.
Sure.
And fortunately enough, after getting lost a couple of times, he did pick up the phone and call and say, hey, you know, I'm over here on such and such a street.
Right.
But I don't know how I got here. Right.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know, in the early stages of Alzheimer's, people very well may be working, still be driving. I mean, it's not like, and that's another important thing we try to teach in this, is that if someone does get a diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to steal the phrase from one of our volunteers in Southwest Missouri, Southeast Missouri, sorry, Poplar Bluff, who was diagnosed 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he says this. He goes, "Look, I know it's coming. I know it's inevitable,
Right.
but I'm not dying from this disease.
Mhm.
I'm living with it."
Yes.
And that's an important thing, because it's super easy for someone to get bad news
Mhm.
and quit. And when you quit, you don't exercise, you don't engage people socially,
Mhm.
you don't eat healthy, you don't do things that are going to sharpen
Yeah.
the razor of your brain. It's like you put a gas pedal down to the floor
Mhm.
on dementia symptoms. So what we want is for people who are diagnosed to try to stay independent as long as you can.
Sure.
But going back to the driving evaluation, if family members are starting to get concerned,
Mhm.
that's a great resource right there, because
That is,
it's not us saying, hey, we think you should stop driving. We might have a feeling, a theory, but we might be a little biased too. We let experts tell them, hey, this is probably not in your cards right now.
your
and so
best
it
interest,
it
right,
makes it a little
safety,
easier
right.
to make those decisions. Yes.
Right. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Are there certain warning signs a person should look for? As you age, I can assure you don't always remember everything, but
Right.
you don't have to be a senior for that to
No.
happen. You
No.
don't have to be a senior. And on one other subject, I've got a very good friend I attended college with,
Uh-huh.
and they were diagnosed with dementia at 56
years old. Yep. Yep.
And it progressed to before they were 60.
Mm-hmm.
It was severe.
Right.
So the reason I say that is because let's be honest. This is not just a quote old person's
Right.
issue.
Right.
This can impact people at various ages.
It can.
Yeah.
It's fairly rare
Yes.
before the age of 65.
Yeah.
It happens,
Yeah.
right? The gentleman I was just telling you about in Poplar Bluff was
Yeah.
diagnosed, I believe, at either 54 or 55.
Okay.
A high school teacher,
Okay.
and his students came to him and was like, Mr. Marshall, why have you taught the same class 5 days in a row? The same lecture 5 days in a row.
Right.
And so that's where he went to get some testing and found out, hey, this is what it is. But to go back to your question, what's a warning sign? Look, we're all going to slow down cognitively as we
Right.
age, right? You're going to forget a name, you're going to forget a face, and that's okay. There's two examples that I give. Now, we have on our website, we have what's called the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
And what I like to say to those is I'm looking for a red flag. So what I mean, I'll give you two examples. So I always have a pocket knife with me, all right? I grew up, Grandpa taught me, you never know where one's going to come in handy. George, I lose that pocket knife on a daily basis, okay?
Mhm.
The difference maker is I can usually backtrack and say, you know what, I was
Right.
wearing those pants yesterday.
Right.
They're
Exactly.
there, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
If my wife were to open up the toaster oven
Mhm.
and that pocket knife is sitting in there, that would be a weird occurrence, right? Why is this pocket knife in there? So that's one thing. I look for something that's odd. Losing it, one thing.
Yeah.
Finding it in a place that's not supposed to be there,
Right.
But like the example that I give in speaking events or when I have meetings with people is, if I messed up on today, so let's say for argument's sake we hadn't emailed or texted, and I showed up Thursday or I showed up Saturday. Maybe I missed the time. Maybe instead of being here at 10, I got here at 11. Yeah, that's a mistake on my part.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
But if whoever security for the Cortex, right, gets a phone call at 3:30 in the morning on a Sunday, maybe it was 2 weeks prior to this meeting or 2 weeks after, and they say, hey, there's a guy named Jeremy's here, and he says he's recorded a podcast with you. That's called a distortion in reality or time and place displacement. And that's what we saw with our grandmother. Found our grandma in a parking lot at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night, and when we questioned her, she was there for her Tuesday 9 a.m. Ladies' Aid meeting at the church, right? And so you start to say, okay, the reality is different. She was an amazing cook. When her food that she was serving, like straight face serving, happy that we're all there for dinner, was looked and tasted. I mean, it was the consistency of a 4-year-old that got into the kitchen and just started mixing stuff together. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about burning a plate of cookies. That happens.
That happens, no matter anybody. Yeah.
When someone who was everybody's got a grandma that was like the best cook, right?
Yeah,
so when that changed and you started to see these things happen, it doesn't necessarily mean you have some, but what it means is you need to start looking at the patterns that are there, and that's usually where you have that conversation with a person, or you say, I think it's time we talk to Dr. Bob or something like that, right? Usually it starts with a general practitioner and we have a conversation, and then it would escalate to something like the neurologist over at WashU or something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
We kind of talked to you kind of based on treatments. I mean, treatment is basically eating right, getting enough sleep, the basic things in life, interacting with people. I mean, I think those are some of the treatments. Is not to isolate yourself because you've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or whatever it is. So I think the treatments are, in addition to the neurological studies and et cetera, tests and so forth they may put you through. But you tell me a little bit more about what treatments are available.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the two medications, what's amazing is that the disease was first diagnosed in 1906, and there wasn't a medication that even came close to doing anything for anything until 1996. That's a long time. But what those medications did was, and they were really more for people in the early stages, it helping to dampen symptoms. And what that means is if you were forgetful, it made you a little less forgetful. Okay? It did not slow progression.
I may need that.
So I want to say it was 2021, there was a medication called Aduhelm that came out.
Okay.
And it was not really what we thought it was going to be. Basically, the bottom line is that these types of medications, and they're called we call them MABs. So donanemab, lecanemab, Aduhelm. They help clear plaques. So the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease is an accumulation of what's called beta amyloid plaque and tau tangles. So what these two medications, so we have two that are on the market right now. One's called Leqembi, the other is called Kisolna. So again, when we talk about treatment that's happening 3 blocks over here, that's what happens is you go in 1 to 2 times a month, and you get an infusion. Okay. So it's not a pill. It's not a patch. It's an infusion. So think of it like this: if your lawnmower isn't running really well, and you start to pull apart the motor, and you say, "Man, that carburetor is really dirty." You can clean that carburetor. You can squirt some cleaner in there, and all of a sudden the airflow gets better, and it starts to work. Well, what happens in the brain with the accumulation of plaque and tangles is that it starts to strangle brain cells, and it kills those brain cells. So what the medication does, it does nothing for those tangles that starts to intertwine and do that. But what it does is it helps to draw out that plaque. So the key with this, and that's why we talk about risk reduction and early detection, it's a very obvious statement, but when there's less plaque in the brain, the treatments work better. And so a person will reach and this is the sad part, especially when you look at like rural America, but not even rural America, underserved markets. People don't know that there's a treatment. People sometimes culturally just assume that senility is part of
Of aging.
aging.
Right.
And so they don't seek treatment. When the problem with that is once dementia gets past a certain level,
Right.
most physicians will not prescribe it. And the reason is because you can't draw enough plaque out of the brain to make a difference.
Make a difference, right.
And the second element is once those brain cells are strangled out
Yeah.
and they die, and a person has lost function,
Yes.
even if we could magically clear every bit of that out of
You
there,
wouldn't.
you're not going to regain what you have. So
Important fact.
Yeah.
The important fact that people that Jeremy just shared with us. There is a treatment, particularly in the early stages, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I think everybody needs to hear this over and over again. And it's done right here in St. Louis, at Washington University, Washington University Medical School, etc. That can help with the symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia, to help remove some of the plaque that has accumulated that spurs those conditions.
Yep, that's what's causing it.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's something that I wasn't aware of, because I was under the same impression, is once you have Alzheimer's, it just it's not a cure. I'm not saying that the medications are a cure.
Right.
But there's not a medical service that could be provided that could help you reduce the severity of the dementia.
Look, when I go into any type of education setting, meeting, whatnot, the first question I typically will ask is, I want to see a show of hands. How many people know that there is a treatment to slow the progression?
Right.
And on average, I will see anywhere from, say, 50 to 70% of people raise their hand.
Okay.
And I will say that's not near enough, because if you don't know there's a treatment, most people are going to just say, well, what do you care? I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it's a very important point. I think it's a very important point that people need, that have family members or maybe think they're experiencing this themselves, that they seek assistance, because there is assistance available to them. And that's really tremendous. I mean, because a lot of people are not aware of that.
Right.
Particularly in the underserved communities.
Right.
That may not have a primary care physician who's knowledgeable or aware of everything that's going on or that's available to them. So that is to me, that is a very significant point, and I appreciate you bringing that out, because many of the people, I consider myself partly educated, and I wasn't aware of that. I mean, so there again, here we are trying to level the playing field to ensure that people have the information and resources available to them, and you are too.
Right.
So that they can take advantage of the services that are right here at our back door.
Right. Right.
Amazing. How can we get involved? How can people get involved? I know you got the walk coming up. Am I correct?
We do.
And so the Alzheimer's walk is when? And
it's going to be October 31st.
Oh, October 31st.
Yep.
Okay, so we got a little time.
We got a little time.
So everybody think about this now, because then support them with the Alzheimer's walk on October 31st.
I think you ask a great question, and I think there's three things that people can do. All right, if you truly want to get involved, the walk is a fantastic tool. I mean, that is, I always say we are a nonprofit. Nonprofits are a business that just doesn't earn a profit. That's all we are. So that is an opportunity to come out and help raise some money for the continuation of funding the research. And I always say, if you want to know, in my role, I mean, the money that is funding me to go to here and there, I mean, that's what we're doing. It's funding me to get out to have conversations like this. So that's number one. You can go to a walk. Second is that we are a volunteer-powered organization. Okay. So what that means is that while I do a tremendous amount of speaking in my job, I just said it a while ago, we got 115 counties, 16 counties. Yeah. I can't be in all those at one time.
Absolutely.
And the reality is even if I went to every single one of them, I would not move the needle, because I can't talk to enough people. So we are constantly looking for educators, support group facilitators, and honestly, we call them community representatives. These are people that would go to like health fairs and festivals and set up tables and have one-on-one conversations with people. It's a volunteer role, but we provide amazing training, And at the end of the day, if we could find 1 to 2 volunteers in every county in Missouri,
That would be
we would move
fantastic.
the needle substantially. So
Yeah.
that's 2. The third is research. So we just talked about the research that's happening over here at Washington University. We need people to be part of that. And a lot of times folks are like, well, but I'm healthy, or I'm this, or I
Right.
have no. Look, we are doing research on with young people, old people, different nationalities, races, because the medications that are out there right now
Yes.
literally affect people differently.
Mhm.
Okay, the research study that came out was called the U.S. Pointer Study that looked at the 5 things that really reduce risk: exercise, nutrition,
Right.
going to the doctor, cognitive exercise. Now there is an extenuation of that called the finger study, looking at how these things affect people in different parts of the world. And my
Gotcha.
theory is it's
Gotcha.
going to affect people very similar
Similar.
because exercise is good for you. But my point is, if people wanted to get involved with that, we have a service called Trial Match through our website. I always say it's the dating game of the research world. If you're
Okay.
interested, you go on,
Right.
you plug in your information, and they are either going to match you to particular studies that might
Gotcha.
fit you,
Yeah.
and then it's a matter of, if you were to contact, maybe there's someone here on campus at WashU that called you. They may ask you a bunch of questions, and they may say, hey, perfect candidate, or they may say, George, thanks for playing.
Right.
You're not going to make the cut because of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But we need people to at least try, because the treatments, the cures, all the things that we're doing. What was fascinating about that Pointer study is that that's where we got the term 40% risk reduction. Exercise, nutrition, cognitive exercise, and going to the doctor for the purpose of understanding, do I have blood pressure issues and diabetes?
Right.
And then managing those.
Yeah, because those are 2 of the leading factors.
Two of the leading factors.
Yeah.
But what they looked at for the participants were men and women 60 plus that had risk of cognitive decline and not in great health, because they wanted people to do these fitness, nutrition, going to the doctor, playing these computer games. They wanted to take people with risk and see how it impacted
them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we need people, right? Yeah, I ain't going to try to break it down into,
Numbers,
African American, white, Asian. We need people, right?
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at. So you can always help us fundraise.
Yeah.
You can really help us by volunteering.
Yes.
And then if you really have a passion for this, look at be part of a research study
You heard that. And you can find that research study on your website.
on our website,
your
or you
website.
can call
Right.
our helpline at 800-272-3900. It's 24 hours a day.
Okay.
And
Can you
can
repeat
ask
that
us-
number one time?
800-272-3900.
Fantastic. Jeremy, I can only say thank you. I can only say this information has been tremendously beneficial to our audience. It's been beneficial to me. I am grateful, and I hope that, many people, share this information, once they see it, because we will put this information out as soon as possible, and this podcast out, and this episode as soon as possible. And I will be promoting it. Trust me, I will be promoting it to all the other nonprofit agencies and organizations that we work with across the state.
Thank you.
Because I think it's critical information, just as you said. One way we can help you is just trying to get the information out.
Right.
And because I think there's a lot of information that people are just not aware of. And I think in my opinion, many people think once this diagnosis arises, it's just something they're going to have to live with.
Right.
And to some degree, it's correct. It's like any other disease. But there are ways through, health, nutrition, participation in some of the medical programs here at Washington University that can assist, that can, so you can help sustain the quality of life of many people, regardless of race and color, but particularly, those people who have pre-existing conditions of hypertension and or diabetes.
Yes, sir.
Which tend to, from my understanding, listening to you, tend to be a prerequisite or running board, more or less, you say, to Alzheimer's.
Right.
With that, I have nothing other than say, but thank you, Mr. Antonio Weston, for your work behind the scenes. And Jeremy, I am grateful. And I'll probably have you back sometime.
Please, I'd love to.
Yeah, to share additional information with us. Because this is not just personal for me, because I know I've got some family members or some very good friends who have been impacted by this. And I'm going to make sure they watch this episode of our podcast, even if they don't want to.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
With that, you got anything in closing?
No,
Yeah.
what we said is that we're not dying from this disease. We're living with it, and
Absolutely.
our job right now
Yeah.
is to slow the train. So take care of yourself.
Uh-huh.
If you see a warning sign, have that conversation. Go to a
Absolutely.
doctor. It used to be scary, and it's still scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Just-
now that we know we have ways to slow the train,
Yeah.
let's slow the train.
Absolutely. I like that. Let's slow the train. Let's slow the train to Alzheimer's disease. And don't forget, there's 3 different ways that Jeremy said you can really help move the needle. And that's through volunteering, participating in some of the studies. And the third was
Walk 10 to Alzheimer's.
Walk to Alzheimer's thing. Walk to Alzheimer's, October 31st, correct?
You got it.
October 31st. Don't forget that. October 31st. That's an easy one. Get people to donate for every step you take. 50-cent, $2, whatever it may be.
That works.
We'd appreciate it very much.
We do.
Thank you so much. And for this episode of Consumers Thursdays, have a great day.